We're introducing here Todd Winter and Jeff Seitz from Mid-Continent, who have been one after another. If it's not lithium, or if it's not flex, or if it's not the USB devices and so forth and so on, they're always introducing something new. Todd, best of all, what's new for Mid-Continent for 2021?
Well, it's great to see you. And yeah, we really never stopped. We were very careful, but we kept our development team rolling. And at this show, we announced 10 new products. 5 of which are clocks.
I mean, come on. What were you doing?
Well,
Going vacations?
I'm paying those guys. They gotta, we look for those opportunities, those overlooked opportunities where, we say this is an important thing for aviation, but nothing has been improved. And the example would be the clocks. Now, we've been building clocks for many years, Piper and Mooney and Cessna, etc. And lots of people have broken clocks or whatever. So we started doing a digital clock with the USB built into the clock. It's like, okay, so it's a double gain. Take out that old clock that you don't like, and you get a USB charger, a True Blue Power USB type charger in one package. So we decided, it was so successful, we decided to double down, and we came out with 5 new versions. And what I like the most about it is when pilots put them in, they say, I really like that clock. I like the display, I like the buttons, and yes, they like the functionality, and we've added a lot of functionality. So obviously it's a clock. We have multiple options for USB. So we got Type A, we got Type C, and we have the latest, greatest, which is called PD, Power Delivery. Basically, it will charge your devices, including a laptop, faster than anything else. And you can either get it as a separate USB, or you can get it in one of our clocks. So the thing to remember would be Chronos. So to make it easier for people to remember, we call it Chronos. So go online to Mid-Continent Instrument, MCICO.com, and check out the clocks. You're gonna love them if you put it in your airplane, and if you're working to charge your iPad, etc., it's exactly what you need. It's a great solution. So that's one of the things that we have.
What's interesting is the clock is one of these overlooked things in aviation that you never really pay attention to until you need it. And then you take a look at these World War II seeming clocks that have been installed in every elder generation GA airplane, never upgraded. I mean, nobody thinks about it.
Yes. How many people have a bad clock?
I mean,
exactly.
We're still timing approaches. We're still doing a lot of things that are time dependent. And then, of course, you're trying to figure, okay, Zulu, local, what? Come on. It becomes more confusing by the day, but the fact of the matter is aviation lives by the second.
It does. And time and navigation goes back to the beginning, right? In Greenwich, when the ships would synchronize their clocks to the bell towers so they could literally navigate the oceans. So that's one of the big things. The other thing, which interestingly enough can work as a clock, a GPS clock, we have a new product we call Flex.
We call it the Heinz 57.
Heinz 57.
I mean,
okay.
One question
There's
first,
at least
before you
that
start,
many versions.
what can it not do?
That is a good question. What can it not do? It can't make coffee.
You sucker.
We can't make coffee.
Again, he's just.
But it can help you make coffee.
Yeah, there you go.
It can help you make coffee. Yeah, we call it a flex gauge. So it's actually about the same size as our clocks, standard 2 1/4 cutout. Well, here's one right here. Yeah. Right, a picture is worth 1,000 words. This one is actually showing a configuration that one of our launch customers chose as a 2-inch altimeter, but instead of being I'm going to call it an antique analog device that's about this long or this long and costs $10,000 to repair, it's actually, look at this side view, it's only that thick, and it can be it's hard to explain. It can be a digital repeater instrument. It can replace something like the oil temp oil pressure gauge. What are some of the other applications that you found interest in? I mean, there's
and keep in mind we've only got
probably
20
hundreds,
minutes.
hundreds, exactly.
Yeah, what we've noticed is that the applications are sort of starting to divide into two broad categories, and one would be, as Todd mentioned, if somebody has an instrument or a gauge that is no longer manufactured, or it's difficult to find repair and support for that gauge or that instrument, it becomes a lot more cost effective to replace that instrument with a modern digital version of that instrument.
Right.
The other broad category that we're seeing a lot of interest in are unique, maybe what I would call one-off type of instruments, that somebody has a very specific application and they maybe need to have that application in one aircraft. And so if you wanted to have a clean sheet design of a specialty gauge that you were only going to need to buy one of, you can imagine that the development cost and the development time of something like that
That's true.
would be very lengthy and very expensive. Yeah. Where we've cut out roughly half of the development time because we've already built and certified the hardware, and then all we need to do is write the configuration file that turns this hardware into that specialty gauge. A quick example I can give you really quickly, we had one customer who called us, a helicopter operator, and they were wondering if there was any way that we could display the amount of line on their winch that was paid out, so that the pilot would know, how much of my cable is below the helicopter. And we said, if your winch has the ability to send that information to us, the data, then we can display it on this instrument. So that's an example. That's, you can't find a COTS cable length display out there anywhere in the
suspended line
marketplace.
operations, I can tell you from experience, I mean, eyeballing it is not a whole lot of fun.
Not a whole lot of fun.
You're trying to keep everything level and looking,
Could be serious.
Nope. Oh, back to flying.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
I would probably add, this is a level A certified piece of hardware. So it's not going to go into just, like my Mooney or my 172. Yeah. Normally it would be for a program where somebody said, hey, we've got a King Air STC, we want to replace all the gauges, or we want to replace all the instruments in our Conquest, or in our Citation, we've always had trouble with this one product. So typically the investment would require something like that. But you're right, it's a streamlined approach, so it can be done very quickly, and at the end of the day, it can solve problems in a very effective way for somebody who needs information in the cockpit, digital, analog, and it's a controller with a knob, so it has a lot of functionality. Again, it is hard to explain, but for professionals, I would encourage you to look up Flex, go out there and check about Flex. We've had a lot of interest and a lot of press coverage on it, and people are thinking of some very interesting ways to use it, and again, Jeff is the Flexpert. He knows that product line, so you could contact him too and have some discussion.
So basically with the right programming and the right sensors, you can do anything.
If the sensor uses AirInc 429 or analog discrete voltage signals, we can do just about anything with it. It also actually has frequency sensor capability as well, so we can be a tachometer, and a thermocouple as well, so we can do
temperatures, pressure. So and it looks great. It is 2 1/4 inch, but the graphics are amazing. Talk about HD. It's super useful. So it can be
sharp.
It can be multi-page, multi-display on one product. So yeah, very excited about that. You'll see those popping up in a lot of very specific applications, usually with an STC, most likely connected to it. So yeah, that's been a big one. And I love batteries. Lithium batteries. So again, True Blue Power, we're the first ones. We are delivering, and we have OEMs like Bell and Cirrus and Tecnam and Robinson Helicopter and Textron putting our batteries into brand new aircraft, delivering those to you. So we said, okay, let's push the limits. We've got our fifth generation of these batteries, doing it for like 11 years. And we said, let's do a 60 amp hour lithium battery, which no one would normally do because it would weigh an incredible amount. But ours saves approximately 68 pounds off of a comparable battery. And you get all these amazing benefits that we demand from batteries today. You know, it is the modern technology. Definitely what you want.
I remember the session we had when you were first announcing True Blue Power. And of course, this is at a time when lithium, the word, sparked all kinds of responses and not necessarily good ones.
Right.
And you had an extraordinary job on your hand to educate the industry that, you know, lithium, many flavors,
right,
many technologies, and been doing this a while and you guys are getting it right.
Yeah.
But you've grown from that and built up something extraordinary here in that you've turned around all of the negative imagery, you've proven the batteries in the field, and it has become almost the default now when people are looking for knocking off weight, adding power, adding capabilities. Some of the folks in the cold areas and so forth and so on are really, I mean, they're in love with you guys. They're ready to have your children.
Yeah, the utility is amazing with the batteries. And again, you know, it's been vetted by some of the best manufacturers in the world. Textron, Pilatus. I mean, talk about picky. They're great people.
Yeah.
Their aircraft are amazing. You know, we have proven safety is not a concern. If anything, our batteries are more safe because they're more reliable in an emergency situation. And many customers, that's one of the primary reasons that they use these. But the utility is amazing. It's definitely safe. You know, it's the kind of thing that when you operate an aircraft, you're going to love that product. You're going to get a faster engine start. It's going to be more reliable. All the things that you want when you fly. You want reliability, dependability. You don't really care what kind of a battery it is. You want it to work great, and that's what these do.
Nobody wants the details; they want the results.
Exactly. Utility.
And, you know, when you're in your third hot start of the morning.
Yeah. And the boss is ready to go.
Oh, yeah, and let's get the air up and everything else as quick as it can, and so forth and so on. The older technologies have not held up, and it's kind of surprising. You would have expected a lot of investment because they know the job, they haven't. And there's been an opportunity for you to come in and swoop in, and well, you swooped in. What's next for True Blue Power? What are we going to see in terms of lithium battery development?
Well, now that the lithium batteries are literally becoming standard equipment on new aircraft, there are certain STCs coming to market. So depending on the type of aircraft, of course, helicopters really love these types of batteries with a reduced weight. So you'll probably see more availability.
For just a second.
Certainly.
Getting into Robinson. Frank was a dear friend and worked with him and Barbara for years, and I know, and Kurt is a great guy. But Robinson is the epitome of prove it to me again.
You're right.
Prove it to me 3 times, and then we'll talk to you in 5 years.
And then we'll fly it for a year or two, and then,
which
is good.
Bagging Robinson was a biggie. That personally impressed me because I know what Kurt is like out there.
Yeah.
And he was impressed. He said, wow, that's a really energetic engine start. And they needed that. With the turbine engines, it really, really shines. So probably some more STCs, and then again, when you unlock new technology, and you know, lithium batteries are in everything that you use. I know you guys use a ton of them, right? In many devices.
You may not be wrong about the ton comment, but
okay. And you wouldn't accept any other technology, right? You just wouldn't accept it. So now we can do unique configurations, even different voltages, like 320 volts. You know, all these newer vehicles, unmanned aerial vehicles, require this kind of technology. They can't use anything else. Higher voltages to reduce weight on board the aircraft. So you got smaller lines and things like that. So really similar to automotive, and unfortunately we lag automotive a little bit, but similar to automotive, we will be doubling down on this technology as an industry and using it in all kinds of applications that make flying safer, better, and more convenient and more reliable, and reducing weight and carbon emissions as well. Obviously, that's a big part of it. We've got to be more sustainable, and this is an easy way to make a step in that direction. And the more electric aircraft in general, but it's a big part of it.
How's the certification environment changed over the last few years as you proved yourself?
It's definitely streamlined. You know, we have not had big issues with that. It's been a little bit more work because it's just supplying a lot of data and information, validation, and as you know, we take the high road. So we completely support that. So we're really seeing it start to streamline, and I expect it to get, I'm going to say, even easier, more standardized for both FAA and EASA within the next even year or so. So it's really not difficult. By far, the benefits outweigh the additional time and cost. It's really no longer new and novel. So it's becoming much more standardized, and I think we're just, now that last year was an unusual year, so now that we've got that behind us, I think we'll find a nice little tipping point there where it will be more streamlined and more people will take advantage. And we'll be making more announcements of customers who are using it, and I'm really impressed, but I'm just glad to be a part of helping a new technology really come into aviation in general. General aviation and otherwise.
Final question for both you gentlemen, and I'm going to ask this to everybody here today and tomorrow, because I think it's a question we all got to be looking at. We've had an interesting year. Affected our industry, affected people we cared about, affected the nation, the world, what have you. How has this changed the staff of Mid-Continent and True Blue Power? What does this do to your company and your outlook for the future and the way you do business within a community that's raring to go?
Do you want to throw something at that?
Yeah, I think my personal takeaway from this past year was one of encouragement to see how the team at Mid-Continent Instruments and Avionics and True Blue Power came together to figure out, okay, like Todd said, we didn't stand still. We had to find some ways to keep going, keep in touch with our customers, keep accomplishing the things that our customers needed us to accomplish, even while we didn't have business travel available to us. We didn't have, for a period of time, we couldn't all be in the same office building. And what was encouraging to me was the way we were able to find a way to use new technology, Microsoft Teams or Zoom, use new technologies to find a way to get it done and keep moving forward. And as difficult as the time was, we didn't let it stop us. And that, to see that happen, to see everybody come together and say, we're not going to let this stop us, we're going to figure out a way to get it done, with the leadership of our company out front saying, setting that guiding, that North Star, that these are our values, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to respond. That tells me no matter whatever the next big thing that affects the world looks like, we're going to find a way through it, and that was encouraging.
Yeah, we took it on pretty easy. Obviously, there were some issues, but it really didn't hurt us too bad. Again, our people are the key. We've got great people, and we took good care of our people, and our customers saw no impact. I mean, we were there for everybody. But the other thing, it gave us a chance to really think about the way society has changed, and the way that people consume, the way you get information about products, the way that you shop for products, the way that you make a decision, the way that you make a decision on how you're going to use aviation or not use aviation. So we spent a lot of time thinking about that and what we need to do this year and over the next 2 years to really dial into how society has changed, how the way consumers are changing things, so we can really be efficient and effective at that as well too. So I'd say the combination of those getting past the short-term situation, but really focusing on what's it going to take in the long term to do it well, and do it right.
Outstanding. Jeff Seitz, Todd Winter of Mid-Continent Instruments and Avionics, and of course True Blue Power. We thank you much for joining us. First off the bat here at AEA 2021.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 64th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Dallas, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.